Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. In this session, I am going to talk about Geoffrey Chaucer books. Before moving with the session, do subscribe my channel Ramsey Literature and get the updates about the upcoming videos. Chaucer was born in England in the year around 1340, and his family was the bourgeois class, descended from an affluent family who made their money in the London wine trade. According to some sources, Chaucer's father, John Chaucer, who carried on the family wine business. Chaucer lived during the reign of Edward III, Richard II, and Henry IV. Chaucer had the French influence between 1343 to 1370, and he was also had Italian influence from 1370 to 1385, and he started focusing on English from 1385 till end of his age. In 1357, Chaucer became a public servant to Countess Elizabeth of Ulster, and they are continued in that capacity with the British court throughout his lifetime. The Canterbury Tales became his best known and most acclaimed work. When he was appointed as a public servant to the Countess Elizabeth of Ulster, the Duke of Clarence's wife, for which he was paid a small stipend, which was enough to pay for his food and clothing. In 1359, the teenage Chaucer, who went off to fight in the 100 Years' War. In the war in France, at the end of a rethil, he was captured for ransom. Thanks to Chaucer's royal connection to King Edward III, who helped pay his ransom. After Chaucer's release, he joined the royal service, traveling throughout France, Spain, and Italy on diplomatic missions throughout the early to mid 1360s. For his services, King Edward granted Chaucer's pension of 20 marks. In 1366, Chaucer married Philippa Royet, the daughter of Sir Payan Royet, and the marriage conveniently helped further Chaucer's career in the English court, with which Chaucer was given a promotion in the court. King Edward III, who made Chaucer as one of his esquires in 1368. When the Queen died in 1369, it served to strengthen Philippa's position and subsequently Chaucer's as well. From 1372 till 1373, he went abroad again and fulfilled diplomatic missions in Florence and Genoa, helping establish an English port in Genoa. He also spent time familiarizing himself with the work of Italian poets Dante, Petrarch along the way. By the time he returned, he and Philippa were prospering, and he was rewarded for his diplomatic activities with an appointment as a Comptroller of Customs. It was a lucrative position. Meanwhile, Philippa and Chaucer were also granted generous pensions by John of Gaunt, the first Duke of Lancaster. In 1377 and 1388, Chaucer engaged in 8 more diplomatic missions with the objectives of finding a French wife of Richard II and securing military aid in Italy. Busy with this duty, Chaucer had little time to devote to writing poetry, his true passion. In 1385, he petitioned for temporary leave. For the next 4 years, he lived in Kent but worked as a justice of peace, and later, he became a member of parliament rather than focusing on his writing. When Philippa passed away in 1387, Chaucer stopped sharing in her royal annuities and suffered financial hardships because his wife passed away. Because of his wife, he got all this wealthy. So when she died, he stopped. He doesn't want to take all those things. So because of that, he was suffering a lot financially. He needed to keep working in public service to earn a living and pay off his growing accumulation of debt. From 1389 to 1391, after Richard II had ascended to the throne, Chaucer held a draining and dangerous position as clerk of works. He was robbed by highwaymen twice while on the job, which only served to further compound his financial worries. To make matters even worse, Chaucer had stopped receiving his pension. He doesn't want to take his pension also. Chaucer eventually resigned the position for a lawyer but less stressful appointment as sub-forester or a gardener at the King's Park in Somersetshire. When Richard II was deposed in 1399, his cousin and successor Henry IV took pity on Chaucer and reinstated Chaucer's former pensions. With that money, Chaucer was able to lease an apartment in the garden of St. Mary Chapels in Westminster, where he lived modestly for the rest of his days. Chaucer was said to be a legend of the poet who lived in the 14th century, who was passed away in 1400 in the month of October on 25th in London. He died of unknown causes, was about when he was the age of 60. Chaucer was buried in Westminster Abbey. His gravestones became the center of what was be called Poets' Corner. A spot where such famous British writers like Robert Browning and Charles Dickens were buried later. Chaucer was the first poet to write in English. In his age, most of the works, the writers were not ready to use English language. They feel honored using French language, but he was the first writer who started writing English language in order to bring respect for English language. Chaucer was the one who introduced rhyme royal in poetry. And he was not a moralist but satirist. Thomas Occleve, who said that Chaucer is the founder of fair language. Fair language, what he finds out is English language. Dryden said about Chaucer that Chaucer is the first poet as a rough diamond and must be polished before he could shine. Thanks for watching. Well, in the next lecture, I'll talk about some major works of Chaucer.